Right now, you're instructing others to treat you without dignity, and you're completely unaware it's happening. For 43 years, I worked as a clinical psychologist, hearing clients repeat the identical complaint again and again. Somebody refuses to show them respect. A supervisor, a family member, a partner, a colleague, and they're searching for ways to transform that individual. Following 4 decades of these conversations, I eventually grasped something that the majority of individuals never discover. You can't force another person to show you respect. Respect doesn't function that way. However, you can cease engaging in behaviors that openly welcome disrespect into your existence. And you're engaging in these behaviors right now, likely in the past 60 minutes. I need you to grasp something before we continue. I'm not present to provide comfort. I'm not going to suggest you position yourself before a reflective surface and repeat positive statements, or imagine your ideal version, or any of that rubbish. What I'm about to share comes from hearing countless individuals detail their connections and observing identical patterns emerge over decades. What I'm about to share will cause discomfort because it demands you examine your own conduct rather than blaming others. Here's the initial point. Cease providing others with lengthy justifications for your choices. I'm completely serious about this. Each time somebody challenges a decision you've reached and you begin a lengthy defense, you're transmitting a signal. The signal indicates that your choices need their permission, that you require their comprehension and consent before moving forward. Studies in psychology have consistently demonstrated that extreme self-justification correlates with reduced perceived confidence and credibility. When you justify yourself to individuals who possess no valid reason to demand an explanation, you place yourself below them in the exchange. You diminish yourself. I treated a client once, a woman in her 40s, exceptionally talented architect, who couldn't comprehend why her mother continued treating her like an adolescent. Each time her mother challenged something, a professional decision, a child-rearing approach, anything, this woman would invest 20 minutes justifying herself. She would offer proof. She would list rationales. She would essentially construct a courtroom argument, and her mother simply continued questioning because the justifying itself was the issue. The justifying communicated, "I require your approval for this." I offered a recommendation. The following time your mother inquires why you chose something, respond, "Because that's what I decided," and then remain quiet. She stared at me as though I had suggested she leap from a skyscraper. She couldn't conceive of it, but she attempted it, and she contacted me 14 days later, weeping. She explained her mother had been perplexed initially, then annoyed, and then, for the first occasion she could recall, genuinely respectful. The constant justifications had been conditioning her mother to anticipate input on each decision. When she ceased, the relationship transformed. Here's the second point, and this one's more challenging. You must grow comfortable with quiet. I'm not referring to the type of quiet where you're boiling internally and formulating your comeback. I'm referring to genuine quiet. When somebody delivers something disrespectful toward you, you don't need to answer right away. You don't need to answer whatsoever. Studies have demonstrated that individuals who answer instantaneously to antagonism are viewed as more impulsive and less commanding than those who hesitate. Quiet isn't submissive. Quiet is deliberate. It conveys something significant. It declares, I'm refusing to participate in this dynamic with you. I knew a colleague decades ago who was repeatedly being talked over in conferences by a younger gentleman who obviously didn't regard her seriously. She approached me exasperated. She had attempted various strategies, standing her ground, confronting him, using humor. Nothing succeeded. I recommended she attempt something alternative. The following time he talked over her, she should cease speaking. Not debate, not object, simply cease. And then regard him. Simply regard. Do nothing more. She considered it absurd, but she attempted it. She ceased mid-sentence, pivoted, and regarded him for perhaps 5 seconds. She described the conference room becoming absolutely silent. He genuinely fumbled his words, attempting to occupy the quiet she had generated. He never talked over her subsequently. What she recognized in that instant was that his interruptions were calculated to elicit a response. They thrived on her annoyance. When she declined to supply that response, when she simply regarded him in quiet, she removed everything he was seeking to obtain. The third point, and I need you to genuinely absorb this, you need to be prepared to sacrifice the connection. I recognize that sounds severe, but it's the basis of everything remaining. If you're unwilling to distance yourself from a connection where you're repeatedly disrespected, you've already informed the other individual they can behave toward you any way they choose. You've already conveyed that your desire for the connection surpasses your desire for respect. They recognize this, whether deliberately or not. They recognize it, and they will behave in accordance. I'm not suggesting you should desert individuals at the initial indication of disagreement. That would be ridiculous. But you need to have a boundary, an authentic boundary. Not a boundary you constantly relocate. I discovered this in the most agonizing manner conceivable. My son Marcus and I experienced a troubled connection for years. He believed I was excessively judgmental of his wife, and he was correct. I was. But when he challenged me regarding it, I couldn't acknowledge I was mistaken. My ego wouldn't permit it, so I protected myself. I rationalized. I validated. I engaged in everything I just instructed you to avoid. And then one day, he ceased reaching out. 18 years previously. I haven't heard his voice in 18 years. He established a boundary, and I challenged it, and I suffered the consequence. I admire him for it, even as it devastates me. He was prepared to sacrifice the connection with his own mother to maintain his dignity and his marriage. I wish I had possessed the identical conviction when I was younger. I wish I had understood when to cease speaking. The fourth point, cease attempting to alter how individuals perceive you and begin observing what you will and won't tolerate. This is the error nearly everyone commits. They concentrate on the other individual. How do I force them to respect me? How do I get them to recognize my worth? How do I persuade them I deserve respect? This is inverted, entirely inverted. You can't dictate how another individual views you. You can't access their consciousness and modify their assessment. What you can dictate is what you permit into your existence, what conduct you endure, what treatment you receive. A client once questioned me how to make her husband cease disregarding her perspectives. I questioned her what occurred when he disregarded her. She explained she would debate with him, attempt to present her argument, occasionally for hours. I responded, "What if you simply exited the room? What if the instant he disregarded you, you merely rose and departed? No justification, no declaration, simply gone." She was appalled. She stated he would consider her irrational. I responded, maybe, or maybe he would discover that disregarding you produces repercussions, that you're unavailable for that type of treatment. She attempted it. The initial time he was astonished. The second time he was furious. The third time before he could disregard her, he stopped himself. He began considering before he voiced thoughts. She hadn't altered his perspective about her. She had altered what she was prepared to tolerate, and that altered everything. The fifth point, this is the one nobody desires to acknowledge. You need to investigate whether you genuinely respect yourself. Because here's the difficult reality that 43 years of practice revealed to me. Individuals who authentically respect themselves seldom experience persistent issues with disrespect from others. Not because disrespectful individuals don't exist. They certainly exist. But because individuals with authentic self-respect don't remain for it. They don't endure it. They don't fabricate justifications for it. They don't invest years wishing somebody will transform. They depart. They establish separation. They uphold their own worth through their decisions and their conduct. If you're repeatedly discovering yourself in circumstances where you're disrespected, I'm not going to claim it's your responsibility. That would be reductive and heartless. But I'm going to request you examine truthfully at why you remain. What you're obtaining from these connections that maintains you there despite the damage. Because there's always something. Anxiety of isolation, economic reliance, familial obligations. The expectation that circumstances will improve, these are legitimate, I comprehend them. But they're also the restraints that maintain you stationary while somebody treats you inadequately. And at some juncture, you need to determine which holds more importance, the connection or your dignity. I selected incorrectly with my son. I selected my ego over the connection. He selected differently. He selected his dignity. And even though it has required 18 years of his existence, I comprehend why he executed it. I would execute it differently currently. I would have expressed remorse. I would have transformed. But I didn't possess the understanding then that I possess currently. That's why I'm addressing you. So you don't need to acquire these lessons the manner I did. I'm 100 years old. I've heard more admissions about disrespect than I can quantify. And here's what I understand. You can't force anyone to respect you, but you can respect yourself so profoundly, so entirely, that disrespect simply discovers no surface to attach. You can cease justifying yourself to individuals who haven't deserved justifications. You can discover how to remain in quiet while somebody anticipates you to respond. You can be prepared to sacrifice what doesn't benefit you. You can observe what you tolerate rather than attempting to transform what others think. I'm not going to suggest this is simple. I struggled with most of it for decades. I'm still struggling with portions of it, but I'm sharing it regardless because perhaps you'll absorb it. Perhaps you'll preserve yourself the time I squandered. Perhaps you'll contact your son before it's irreversible. That's all I possess.